am happy to join with you today.
Once you change your philosophy, you change your thought pattern.
I love America. I love everybody.
Do what this white here can do more.
Thank you. And welcome back to the latest edition of the One Way Podcast. I'm your host, Lorenza, and it's obviously April. We're going to continue with the Pay the Thing podcast every day in April. And today's episode, I think this is April 10th, if I'm not mistaken. Today's episode is going to be centered around baseball because it is indeed baseball night in America. Tonight, the Boston Red Sox and the New York Yankees play each other for the first time this year. And if you're into baseball, there are a few new faces, new names in this rivalry. The days of the Nomar Garcia Parras, the Mo Vaughns, wow, did I just lose that man's names? But the Derek Jeters, they're all gone. On the Yankees, you'll see the Giancarlo Stantons, you'll see the Aaron Judges, and on the Red Sox, you'll see two players that are young and really good, and Mookie Betts and Hanley Ramirez. Mookie Betts, with a name like Mookie, you know exactly what Mookie looks like, man. I remember when he first came onto the scene. I remember watching a game on ESPN because I am a baseball fan, and I remember seeing him saying, this black dude is legit. He's a center fielder, so it's going to be good to see him play on a large stage tonight on ESPN. Other things going on in baseball. Bryce Harper of the Washington Nationals, he is playing really well right now. He's got about 5 or 6 home runs, and it's early in the season. And, chicks dig the long ball, as my man Johnny Damon would say. Johnny Damon being the name that I forgot about as far as the Boston Red Sox New York Yankee rivalry is concerned. But he's playing really well right now. Several other guys playing really well. There's this player, Shohei Ohtani. Shohei Ohtani, I believe, is his name. He's Japanese, if I'm not mistaken, and he plays with the Los Angeles Angels. He is the first player in a while to be allowed to be a pitcher and also a player in the field. He has like 2 or 3 home runs. He's won 2 games as a pitcher, and this makes him the first player to do this since 1919. He's literally the first player to do this since Babe Ruth, man, and that's crazy. A lot of times people will talk about this is some of the greatest stuff they've ever seen and all that good stuff, but I'll be quite honest with you. As impressed as I am at this young man's ability, I'm going to have to play the cynical card and say this is one of those things, or one of those times where I really have an issue with coaching and how coaches are basically allowed to limit players and or force them into these little molds that they want them to fit in. Like, for example, you take RG3 in his first year as a quarterback in the NFL. That offense was tailored around him. We were going to focus on what you can do well rather than force you into this cookie cutter approach to being a quarterback. I believe there are more bad coaches than bad quarterbacks in the NFL, and that's saying a lot. I mean, you look at someone like Jeff Fisher, who has had the Case Keenums, he's had the Jared Goffs, and look at the seasons they had after leaving this man. Like, you can't tell me that coaching isn't a major problem in professional sports when it comes to limiting players. And back to baseball, with it being so traditional, of course, it would want you to be either or. You're either going to be in the field or you're going to be this pitcher. And I'm glad that they're allowing someone, even though he came from another place, I'm glad they're allowing someone to show that it can be done, because there are several people that have been able to do this in the past, and baseball was born this way. Kids, you grow up throwing the ball, pitching yourselves, and playing the field as well. I remember playing high school baseball where I had a coach and he wouldn't use the bench for anything except pinch runners. He would just rotate the players in the field. And of course, by the time kids get to college, and a lot of times these days, even before they get to college, kids are forced to settle in all sports. Well, not basketball, because at a particular size you can be positionless, but especially in football and baseball, they force these kids into these positions, man, not knowing that, man, we could be missing out on some of the greatest utility or just creative or just amazing sports players of all time, man. We love to see pitchers hit home runs. Why not see a guy who can really do both on a consistent level all the time? But thank you guys for listening to yet another episode of the One Way Podcast. Remember, you can, almost forgot to say that. Remember, you can subscribe, Google Play, iTunes, Spreaker, Stitcher. We're back up over there, man. Let's get it. Peace.